Oh, when the saints go marching in. Oh, when the saints go marching in. Oh, how I want to be in that number. Hi, I'm so glad you can make it. I'm Shirley English, and I'm at the public landing in Cincinnati, Ohio, where I'm about to board my co-hostess, the Delta Queen. The Delta Queen and other steamboats remind us of the past and reacquaint us with the importance of the Midwest riverways. So sit back, relax, and enjoy yourself while we take you on a sentimental journey. Hi, I'm Shirley English.
These are your tickets. I need you to fill out a home address, and I need 2 signatures, please. These little pink cards are your passenger ID cards. You need to fill these out at your own convenience or use these as your boarding pass. You'll be in cabin 120, which is right through these doors here. At 4 o'clock, you'll be able to get into your cabin. The keys should be in there at that time. You'll also need to speak with Alan, our maitre d', sitting at the first table over here. He will confirm your dinner table with you. Welcome aboard and have a nice time.
Hi, Shirley. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Delta Queen. While I'm getting registered in, why don't you take a look around the boat for a while? While I go freshen up, why don't you go up on the sun deck where my friend Margaret Carr is? She has a special guest for you.
I'm Margaret Carr. The history of the steamboats will come alive during the bicentennial of Cincinnati through the eyes of Don Deming, a Cincinnatian historian who will share many of his anecdotes and folklore with us. Don has served for over 20 years on the Delta Queen.
Cincinnati is a result of the steamboat. Cincinnati is a great city today, but it was built by steamboat interests. Prior to the steamboat, Cincinnati was a lot of log cabins. And then by 1811, when the first steamboat came here, called the Orleans, Cincinnati was opened up to the world, to world commerce, to interstate commerce. That great steamboat came here right to this very public landing that we're looking at now. At this public landing, when it landed, the captain stepped off and said, "She's not mad, she's only letting off a little steam," as the steamboat was exiting its steam. That captain was Captain Nicholas Roosevelt from Hyde Park, New York, and a community here in Cincinnati called Hyde Park still is in honor of Captain Nicholas Roosevelt, who visited here in that year, 1811. Well, as a result of the steamboat, the city began to expand. And first of all, it was all down here at the foot of Sycamore Street, and then it went further up as far as 1st Avenue, 2nd Avenue, 3rd, 4th, 5th. We kept adding streets until finally we got as far as Liberty Street. Liberty Street was really way up there. But all these steamboat people lived in this area, and they had great steamboat interests. On this public landing, Julius Fleischmann introduced the cake of yeast, which would certainly change the way people make bread today. He did it originally to impress the steamboat people. Willie Proctor, Jimmy Gamble. Jimmy Gamble would stand on the public landing here, throwing his soap in the river and say, look, it even floats. It attracted the interest of the steamboat people who would buy it. For you see, they were the people who had the money, the influence, and the power. You see, the steamboat is really very indigenous to Cincinnati. Steamboats this city's often been referred to as the steamboat capital of the world. For one time we had 400 to 500 of these great steamboats lined along these public landings here. Newport, Covington, and Cincinnati were a mecca for the rich and the powerful who traveled by steamboats. It is very interesting that we're talking about steamboats, and women have been the power behind steamboats for a long time. The great ones are Captain Mary Green, known as Ma Green, who commanded 28 steamboats. So that is something just imagined without the use of computers. Then there was the great Letha Green, who was her daughter-in-law, who took over the whole empire when Ma Green's son died and Ma Green died. A daughter-in-law took over and ran this empire. And then another woman of great influence was a lady named Betty Blake, who was in public relations but became a real steamboat enthusiast. So I would say of all the industries that deal with transportation, the steamboat is the most feminine, or has been dominated and run by matriarchs or women. You know, the automobile industry was always run by men, so was the airplane industry, and so was the railroad industry, but steamboats, the most powerful people were women. Perhaps that's why we call steamboats she's, and maybe that's why as you go through this boat, the decor is so very feminine. Railroads are not feminine, nor airplanes feminine, nor automobiles feminine. They're really quite neuter. But a steamboat, you can tell, has the touch of a woman. The Delta Queen does not carry any cargo at all. It only carries passengers, so therefore it is a passenger vessel in the truest sense of the word. A packet carries passengers as well as cargo. Unfortunately, there are very few packet boats left at all in America. Most all of these steamboats now are used strictly for carrying passengers and fun.
We have activities scheduled so that they can be as busy as they want, or they can just relax and have a very relaxing vacation. We have bingos, we have kite flying, we have calliope walkathons in which we walk around the decks 11 times to make a mile. We have calliope playing. Many people have never played a calliope, and they can all try their hand at playing the calliope. We even play trivia sometimes. We have sing-alongs.
Let us get to the important part of the steamboat, the food. Let us talk now with the chef, the chief chef of the Delta Queen, Robin. How are you, Robin?
Very well, Don. Thank you very much.
Robin, we've been watching this documentary here, and we've heard a lot of facts and figures, but now it's time for us to be colorful and hear about, for instance, what are you serving these 190 passengers you have tonight? What are you serving them for dinner?
Well, dinner tonight, always on our first night out, we have a traditional sailing night buffet. We always have Cajun rice, which is rice with some pork in it and some wild rice. Some people like to call it dirty rice, is the real Cajun terminology of it. Then we're serving stuffed flounder with crab meat with the Mornay sauce. And then a chicken piccata, and then carving roast prime ribs of beef and fresh roasted turkey.
Have you had some important celebrities recently that you've cooked for on the boat?
Oh my! Well, it seems like it's never-ending celebrities on board.
They seem to gravitate to a riverboat, don't they?
For some reason, because of a lot of American history behind it.
Yes.
Our last real big celebrity we had on board was Her Royal Highness Princess Margaret.
Oh, Princess Margaret. What did you serve Princess Margaret?
She got everything she had for her luncheon she had never had before, from the Acadian duck and andouille sausage gumbo to the red fish and papillote with the butter and the wine, vegetables inside of it, and also from the Bailey's Irish cream mousse cake.
Do you feel that she enjoyed her meal, or was she just being royal by saying thank you? Did she really eat it with gusto?
All the pomp and circumstance that usually comes with a person of that stature that comes on board, they tell us the eating habits that they normally don't finish their entree and so forth like that. But she whisked everything off the soup, the plate. The only thing she held back on was dessert, and I think it was because it was Bailey's Irish cream mousse cake and wasn't British cream mousse cake.
Well, that's something to put in your brag book, isn't it? I cooked for Princess Margaret.
Oh, it's kind of a fun thing to do.
Well, we can start from the beginning. Deckhand, you just basically, drag the lines out and help tie the boat up and scrub and paint, working the paddle wheel. Second mate is third in command, responsible to the first mate and the master. The first mate is second in command, carrying out directly the orders of the master, responsible for the safety, a high standard of safety and a level of discipline among the crew. We are responsible for all the exterior maintenance of the wheel, and to make sure that everything's kept up, and charge of the deck crew and watchmen, and responsible to keep the pilots filled with coffee. I'm very grateful that I'm able to have this job, because I meet a lot of women who are older, in their 50s and 60s, who wish that they'd had that opportunity 50 years ago. And I'm just glad to have the job and thrilled to be out here, really.
And now it's time to talk to the master of the vessel. The master, the one who's responsible for all the lives of the crew, the passengers, of the whole vessel itself. And the master of the Delta Queen is Commodore Harold de Marrero. How long have you been a captain, you say?
A captain? Well, let's say about 35 years.
35 years. And how did you start in something like this? How does a youngster start off in working the river?
Well, I'm the 5th generation of my family to be a steamboat captain.
5th generation.
And I started riding on boats when I was 3.
When you were 3.
So by the time I was a teenager, I knew the profession.
Captain, today on a steamboat, there's a lot of ceremony for you too, isn't there? I mean, you have to preside over the captain's dinner and get up and see nice things and talk to passengers.
We appreciate the passengers, and we have a captain's dinner just for the passengers, and to show them that we appreciate them coming back. And we've had passengers that have ridden the boat 40, 50, 60 times, and I think the record holder is over 100 times. The person has cruised on the Delta Queen.
Well, Captain, I think you've given us a royal reception today. We were glad we had the opportunity to talk to you and filling out this documentary, which is really a glimpse of what the whole steamboat world is. And we thank you for taking time to be with us. You know, the Delta Queen's warmth is contagious. Even the members of the crew love this fine old historic steamboat. The Davis and the Sherman family have a rich heritage with the Delta Queen. Starting back in 1955, when John Sonny Davis started working here, many family members ever since have worked on this legendary vessel.
We talked about the Greens and all them. When I started working on the boat, they were very so about the Green family and everything, and then we got to talking about the Davis family and the Shermans and everything who's on the boat, and everybody said, well, how many of y'all on here? And I said, well, I think it's about 13 or 14. And I don't know, what is the number? What was the highest record we had on there one time?
I think, let's see, there was me, Alma, Bree, Robert, you, Philip, Pokey, Dawn, Carol. Fuzzy was on there for a while. That was 10.
Nell came on as a sub.
No, she come on just to help out at times.
Who's that came on as a sub?
Oh, please don't leave Frida out. No. Frida worked on there.
Who did all the hiring for everybody? How did people?
The family, whoever was ahead.
Whoever you knew. It was like nepotism. That's all it was. You bring your cousins and you bring down somebody to work, whoever's on the dock.
Yeah, I got to be head maid. I brought in all my family.
Yeah. Actually, I was the first black bartender on the Delta Queen.
How did that present you any problems or anything, do you think?
No, it afforded me quite a bit of opportunities for expression and made life a lot easier for me,
a lot of people hear about the folks on the Delta Queen, the captains, and a lot of the head crew, the different skippers of the ship, and public relations people. How was the relationship between like the maids and waiters and so forth with the folks who were the officers and things like that? Did you?
Most of the time, they were beautiful.
In general, they were beautiful.
But you have to remember that the Delta Queen had this southern tradition, you know, and
type thing. Yeah.
Traditionally, the captains and the first mates and engineering crew and all people like that, they stayed upstairs, and the crew, the common help or the hired help, as we call it, the porters and maids and waiters and things, lived downstairs. We lived like below,
Under the water.
in the hole, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, like we got along all right. We got along, but it was just two different worlds.
Well, there was a lot of tradition you had to break down.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
You know, we had
to break down a lot.
It changed. It changed.
I was maitre in the dining room at the time, and I had one of the real fancy tuxedo shirts on. This guy, he had all his girlfriends around him. He was just showing out, you know. He said, "Man, that's a pretty shirt you got on." He said, "Take it off right here, right now. I'll give you $50." And I think I paid about $7 or $8 for the shirt.
Off come the shirt.
I took that shirt off right there in the dining room. He gave me the $50. I went upstairs and put another one on. Just like everybody else was about one.
Yeah, they were there.
We also have things on our old Super 8 camera, and what I think I'd like to do now is flip this on, and so we can see a few of the things that's been happening over the years on the Delta Queen.
That's a good shot of the Delta Queen.
Okay, now,
I think
is this Baton Rouge?
Let me see.
Baton Rouge wasn't on our schedule.
Now that's shot from the arch.
Yeah.
You can see looking down. I was up in the Gateway Arch. I was shooting, you know.
Nice shot.
Now, what boat
for a shaky dude?
On the St. Louis. All that's in St. Louis.
Yeah, they're good, steady hand.
One of those boats is the Admiral, right?
Which one?
That's a new one now. I remember that one, but I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah.
I believe that's one of those. It was a restaurant.
It's a double stacker. I see.
This is in one of the locks now. That's actually in one of the locks.
Yeah. What lock is that? Do you know?
I can't remember which one it was.
Well, how long did you stay in these locks? You know, was that a?
Well, as long as it would take the water to come in.
Yeah. Lock took maybe an hour. That's quite high, low.
So you had the dock.
That's Kentucky Dam.
Oh yeah, that's really another day there.
Yeah. Yeah, you done got way back in Kentucky. That's Kentucky lock.
You know what? Where this took place at? Is this?
This was just down in. This is where the crew ate.
This is down in the boat. This
is where the crew ate. That was down in our dining room.
Crew quarters.
That's the crew quarters. That was down in our crew dining room.
They come down there and party with us.
Now I see you got paneling and things like that on the wall. Was that always like that?
No. Well, see, formerly this was the kitchen. This used to be the kitchen, the galley. Before they moved it upstairs, and then when they moved it upstairs, they made it into like a crew's dining quarters. And, you know, we used to have a party down there. Raymond, yeah. This is like coming into New Orleans.
Let me ask you now. The difference is the deckhands and the porters. What was the difference in the crew in terms of their hours? Like I know the deckhands were on call every time you come to lock. They
were on call for
24 hours a day call?
Really, yeah. Anytime you had to tie up the boat, they had to be on call.
Yeah. But from the captain on down, they had shifts.
That was the captain with Volkswagen.
Captain
Wagner.
And he carried the Volkswagen.
Well, we kept a car on the in case of emergency come up or something. You have to, you know.
This is back in New Orleans again.
And that's doing Carnival.
So today you've had a rather unique and unusual experience, I suppose, for many of you, and that is a trip aboard a steamboat. I've been doing this for 25 years. It's not unique or unusual for me, but it is a treasure. Steamboat is a treasure of my life. As you look at this big red paddle wheel, we have to think about what was transportation like before the steamboat. You know, for thousands of years, man just had to walk wherever he went, or he rode on a horse or a donkey, or if he went on the water, he had sails or he had oars like Cleopatra. But it was Robert Fulton who boiled the water, that gave off the steam and pushed the first pitman arm and made this giant red paddle wheel move. This red paddle wheel moved, it churned in the water, and the boat went forward. He had come across something that changed the universe, for on that day, the first engine moved, and the boat began to propel itself. This would change the world. It happened on August 17, 1807, and from that day on, life was never the same, for they ushered in the industrial age of transportation. When Robert Fulton's little boat took off from the foot of what we could now call Fulton Street in downtown New York and made it up as far as New Albany or up to Albany, New York, the boat was called the Claremont. Robert Fulton referred to it as the contraption, and we get that word, the contraption, from him. Most people didn't believe that it was the paddle wheel that propelled the boat forward. So he came to the conclusion that if he took his red paddle wheel and painted it red and put on it white stripes, that perhaps people would be mesmerized by looking at the wheel move, and then they could see the relationship of the wheel to the water and know that truly it was the wheel that pushed the boat forward. It worked. It worked so successfully, people began to believe that it is the paddle wheel that pushes the boat forward, and hence, in honor of Robert Fulton, every paddle wheel on every steamboat has always been painted red. There's never been a green paddle wheel or a gray one or a black one. That would be sacrilegious to the memory of Robert Fulton, who said, "Let all paddle wheels be red," to let the people know that it is the wheel that moves the boat.
Oh, you're back. Wasn't Don interesting? In 1947, the Delta Queen was purchased by Captain Tom Green of Green Line Steamers. It was a family-owned company, and we were fortunate enough to talk to his son, Gordon C. Green. He told us of his father's dream.
Gordon C. Green was a classic steamboat on the river. It had twin stacks, and I mean, it was really a packet boat type steamboat. No air conditioning, public johns, and so on and so forth. And my dad had a I guess you'd say, a dream to operate, to either build or acquire somehow a bigger and better steamboat, and to continue the business in the passenger trade, if you'd say, from as much as possible, which is what he did. And when he found when World War II ended, he found that there were two steamboats on the West Coast in San Francisco that were available, the Delta King and the Delta Queen, and they had been operating before the war on the Sacramento River between Sacramento and San Francisco. And my dad and my mother went out when I was pretty young then, 4th or 5th grade or something like that. And my dad and my mother went out to San Francisco on the train, which it kind of dates when it was. They didn't fly. They went out to San Francisco and checked out both these steamboats. The Delta King was the one my dad was more interested in, for whatever reason. I don't know. And he put a bid in for the Delta King and was not the successful bidder. Another organization, and I think it was a Chinese syndicate or something like that, bid for and got the Delta King. My dad didn't get the Delta King. He put a bid in on the Delta Queen, and it was the only bidder. So he was, I remember the day very well when he came home with a telegram indicating that we had been the successful and only bidder for the Delta Queen.
The Delta Queen was built in 1926 on the River Clyde in Glasgow, Scotland. She was then disassembled and shipped to a temporary yard in Stockton, California, where she was reassembled and made ready for use. Then World War II came, and she was painted battleship grade to be used by the U.S. Navy to transport our servicemen to the ships at sea, though the Delta Queen never saw combat herself. In 1947, Tom sent his friend, Captain Fred Way, to California with his crew to bring the Delta Queen back home to Cincinnati. Tell us about that, Captain Fred.
So, all right, I said, I'll take it on, sure. Then after we hung up, I got out a Rand Valley map and saw that vast expanse of blue water. San Francisco down there, the Panama Canal. I thought, what in the world have I got into?
She was crated up to protect her from the ocean. Her wheel was removed and great tarpaulins were tightly secured over the smokestacks for her famous journey through the Panama Canal. It was then that Captain Fred Way sailed her under her own power under the Green Line steamers to Pittsburgh, where she was remodeled for $750,000.
I was captain on her for a year and a half. She never carried a pass the whole time I was on her. I delivered her back here to Cincinnati, ready for back into the tourist camp. And Captain Tom Green took the charge. That's how she started here on this route.
But in 1969, we sold the company to Overseas National Airways, and that basically took the Green family out of the business.
The Delta Queen today, with each sentimental journey, stretches its Dixieland style from Pittsburgh to New Orleans to St. Paul. At each port of call, the Delta Queen touches the heart of many. She's a dear friend to us all.
Yeah.